Adams. Savor the flavor responsibly.
Jalen Jacoby is presented by Samuel Adams.
He is Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby.
What up,
Jalen, what is it that we do?
We give the people what they want.
Jalen, we have a mutiny mounting in the locker room in Dallas for the Cowboys. We also are going to be joined by the young phenom, Miles Brown, on the program. But we start with Game 1 of the World Series last night. At the beginning of the game, Glasnow, Kershaw were dealing. Thought maybe it'd be a pitcher's duel. That was until the bats of the Dodgers heated up and took over in the fourth inning into the fifth. What did you think of the offensive explosion from LA?
Unlike the rest of society, baseball appreciates quality lefties. You see Bellinger at the plate. You see Kershaw on the mound. And you see those guys being productive for a team that's been there a couple of years and has come up short. So now all of a sudden you see your ace on the mound. He starts to struggle with the first couple of batters, and then you get into your DMX. Here we go again. And then he gets out of the jam, Jacoby. And then he's able to survive a few more rounds until the bats woke up. The Dodgers were a confident team, and they got it done in Game 1.
I'm glad you brought up that first inning because when I sat down, I put the kids to bed, I had the popcorn, and I was rooting for Kershaw. We all know how much he has struggled in his career in the postseason, and they talk about it during the entire game. And then he let two on in that first inning. He couldn't really have control over his pitches, but then he got himself out of the jam right here. And then after that, he just cruised throughout the rest of the game, only giving up one home run. I believe it was to Diaz. But I want to show you this play. Gonzalez. 2 on at this point. They'd already scored 2 runs in the inning. Gonzalez just uses his reflexes, makes the catch, doubles him up at second base. Without that play, it could be a different story. But with that play, as it happened, the Dodgers cruised to a Game 1 victory.
You see that play by Gonzalez, Jacoby? Take that from a 6'8" pitcher at softball. I've been there, dog. You see that lefty? I've been there.
Jalen, you have not been there. Okay, you have not been there. That is World Series Game 1 with the best athletes in the world hitting the ball as hard as they can. Your beer league softball does not measure up to that. That's like me talking about my rec league and you talking about playing in the NBA Finals. Jalen, one thing I know you love to talk about is athletes getting their money and getting paid, and I know you love to talk about Mookie Betts, and just Mookie played well yesterday and he earned this contract. Look at these numbers. He signed a 12-year, $365 million contract. Does winning a World Series make it all worth it?
Absolutely. And what about your die-easy Red Sox that just let Mookie go? By the way, hasn't he become the best Swiss Army knife in baseball? So let me get this right. He's stealing home runs. He's stealing bases. He's hitting for average, and he's scoring runs. Unlike no player we've seen in World Series history. I don't understand how the Red Sox just let this man go. The Dodgers scooped him up. That's a discount for Mookie. They're about to win the championship his first year with the team.
Jalen, there was the home run, there was the stolen bases, there was the great defense, but let's not forget what Mookie did for society last night. He got us all free tacos. He got us all free tacos, and you know I love some Taco Bell. We will see what happens tonight in Game 2, and we'll talk about that tomorrow, but right now we need to turn our attention to football because there's a report from the NFL Network that Mike McCarthy is being criticized from those in his own locker room. The players say he can't coach, and here's what he had to say about the report.
I haven't been part of any of those type of discussions. I think like a lot of things, when you hit a part of your season or any challenge where there is negativity out there and where it comes from and who it comes from, I mean, that's something that I've never chased, but I think you do have to recognize it.
Jalen, we need you to take us behind the curtain. You have been on some very successful teams and some very unsuccessful teams. So take us behind the curtain. What happens in that locker room when things fall apart, when players and coaches don't trust each other, it gets out to the media? What is going on in Dallas?
Pat Riley calls it the disease of me. And that happens when you win, you take more credit and you feel like it was more about you than it actually was. Well, it works in reverse when you lose in Jacoby, and when you're on a team that's struggling and Gallup drops the ball in the end zone, or Ezekiel Elliott drops the ball on the field, or the defense can't stop anybody, you realize, how did we get here? It's like, wait a minute, we lost Dak, our leader that we didn't pay long term. Now all of a sudden that stability that he was giving us isn't there anymore. I talked about Zeke dropping the football, and then all of a sudden the defense, Tommy, please at least roll the defense, can't stop anybody. Like, seriously, the Dallas Cowboys are historically bad on that side of the football. So when your best players aren't there, Dak, Zeke is in the lineup not getting it done, your offensive line has dealt with injuries, and that defense, oh man, they paid top dollar for a couple of guys to play on that side of the ball. Of course, it's time to point fingers now. And you don't have to walk past, you can walk past the coach easy. You can go to the GM. Maybe I should go to the owner. Oh wait, that's the same person. So now you ain't worried about pleasing the coach, you're worried about pleasing the owner. That's why this dynamic has not worked to Super Bowl level for this team since my guy, my favorite coach, Jimmy Johnson, was not put into the Dallas Ring of Honor.
Jalen, I'm glad you brought up the disease of me, because that's Pat Riley's sort of theory about successful teams and players taking too much credit and sort of overvaluing their contribution. But there's also what you pointed out here, which I'm going to call the disease of you. The opposite. When things go poorly, you take the finger and you point at everybody. Guess what? He doesn't know how to coach. He's not preparing me well, and he didn't throw the ball, and the offensive line isn't blocking. It's never my fault. It's always your fault, and that's what happens here. But guess what? Everyone, this is just a function of losing football games. And Dallas Cowboy players, Dallas Cowboy coaches, and especially Dallas Cowboy fans, relax, because you're going to win the NFC East and end up in the playoffs. Look at their next 5 games. Washington football gonna beat them. Eagles, I'm gonna say they that's a toss-up. Steelers definitely gonna get blown out. Don't freak out after that one. And then you beat the Vikings and you beat Washington again. So that's gonna put you in position to win the NFC East. So right around the end of November, this conversation is going to be over. There's not gonna be any more finger pointing, because I'm saying it now. The Cowboys look so bad right now. They've lost their quarterback. There's the mutiny inside the locker room, but guess what? It's going to turn around, because the players in their division and the teams in their division are so terrible, they're going to end up winning the East and end up in the playoffs. That is just how it's going to play out. Jalen, there's another team in Texas dealing with some turmoil, and that is the Houston Rockets. They do not have a head coach. They do not have a general manager. Owner Tillman Fertitta said that they're not going to blow it up. They plan on contending, insinuating that they will not trade Westbrook or Harden. Huh. Your thoughts, Mr. Rose?
Well, when you see what the Oklahoma City Thunder got for Paul George to the Clippers, you got to consider trading Russell Westbrook. Because James Harden is at his maximum when he's in control of the basketball. And so is Russ. So therefore, if you're going to play micro ball, then you can find ways to put Russ at the 4, where he's all of a sudden leading the league in points in the paint since January. And then all of a sudden you get to the playoffs and the game slows down and you're not tall enough. The only way to remake their roster would be potentially to trade Russ. Now, saying it right now, it doesn't really matter, because they have no GM. They have no coach. And guess what you're hiring those 2 people to do? To make this decision. This is why those positions aren't filled just yet. Because as a coach, you have to figure, if I'm going to take this job, I'm going to be hesitant to do so if the owner makes me feel like I want to double down and triple down on Daryl Morey and Mike D'Antoni's micro style. If I'm the next head coach, I want this to be a lot more traditional in a lot of ways, based on how today's teams are playing. And one of those things can't be to take the ball out of James's hands. You don't see James Harden very often scoring in the 3-on-2, scoring in the 2-on-1, cutting off the ball. When other people have the ball, he takes that as a chance to rest. As a guy that averages 35 points, he's like, I get a possession off. I don't gotta have the ball. And so you have to put him in position to maximize his game, which has made him an MVP.
Jalen, our producer Demetrius asked me a really interesting question earlier. He said, should they trade Russell Westbrook? And I was like, well, it's not a yes or no question, because I would say yes. However, the market for Russell Westbrook right now isn't that high. So I think if you do make a move like that, you trade Russell Westbrook, as I think they should if they could get 100 cents on the dollar. But right now, I don't think that's what you're looking at for someone as talented as Russell Westbrook. What do you think about that?
Russ is still a superstar when healthy around the league. He just averaged a triple-double a couple of years ago and won MVPs, dealt with some injury. He even showed that he can change positions, play off the ball, and still be effective because he led the league in points in the paint since January while the league was happening. However, to maximize his game, you have to have the ball in his hands, and he can be a guy, if you have a market that needs a marquee name and or player to attract the fan base, to pay attention to somebody that's going to come and give you effort on a nightly basis, especially in the Eastern Conference. That should be something that teams are considering.
So, Jalen, should they trade Russell Westbrook?
It only depends on what they're getting in return based on what you said. Like, I'm not going to give him away, but I'm not going to give him away, but if I could get some value for him and he can become a face of the franchise, I'm looking at a lot of Eastern Conference teams that don't give fans necessarily a reason to come watch them play, that need somebody that can draw the people in and then now ignite the locker room around them. Russell can be that guy.
Well, there's a lot of change afoot in Houston, regardless if they make a trade, because they're still looking for some very big positions to fill. And Jalen, something I want to talk about with you that I can relate to. Having trash talk to you on the basketball court. Now, this happens to me a lot, but it never happened to me in the NBA Finals. And our guy, Duncan Robinson, was on the Tate and Titus podcast, and he said that the Lakers bench was calling him Jimmy Neutron during the finals. Jalen, I always say, you can be mean if you're funny. Is this funny enough to be that mean?
Well, is it mean that initially when I saw this, and you know Duncan Robinson is my guy, that I didn't know who Jimmy Neutron was. So initially I had to figure out who they were talking about. So it's almost like you got to remember, Seinfeld is the white version of Martin. It takes me some time to get that humor. I didn't get it at first. I had to Google it, and I was like, Jimmy Neutron, yeah, the hair, the face, I got it at that point. But for me, it looked like somebody that was a member of Happy Days. Like
Jalen.
Like Potsy.
I think knowing who Jimmy Neutron is has a lot more to do with show. The Phenom from Blackish, and with the new album, We Are the Future, it is Miles Brown on the program. Miles, thank you so much for taking the time. I want to start here. What did it feel like to watch your Dodgers run away with Game 1 of the World Series?
I mean, what else can I say, man? It's two LA teams gonna win. I mean, it can't get any better than this. I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna call it sweet, but I'm excited to see the rest of the series, and it's just making it even closer for a two LA team win for both the Lakers and the Dodgers, bro.
And I'm going to make you feel even happier about your Dodgers. While I respect the Miami Heat and the Rays, these are opponents that you guys are definitely the favorites. Y'all going to get it done. So how are you going to celebrate if and when it happens?
I mean, I was more in shock when the Lakers won. I cannot believe I was literally like that. I mean, I was still really excited and celebrating. But, you know, LeBron being my favorite player and, you know, like the Lakers, you know, where I'm from, LA, it was like so hard to take in because they haven't won in like almost like 10 years. So it's like, it's hard to even like think about it because I was so young last time they even won. But for LeBron to get his fourth ring and for LA to get that another championship, I was too hyped, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be even more hyped when the Dodgers win because that's something I've been wanting to see for the past few years. So I'm excited for that to happen too.
So
you're right. LeBron did get his fourth ring. However, recently I saw you have your father concede that he is now the GOAT over Michael Jordan. Why are you so convinced?
Because, okay, look. Well, first of all, me and my dad have had so many late night debates over this. He's the biggest Jordan fan ever in this world. And for him to officially say that is literally like the biggest deal in our family because of how big of a Jordan fan he is. I think with all the stats that LeBron has done and all the ways that he plays when it comes to assists, rebounds, just taking over the court, filling up the stat sheet. I don't even think he needs 6 rings to be called the GOAT. I don't think he needs 6 rings to be called the GOAT, especially what he does off the court. Just all the stuff that he's done when it comes to assists, rebounds, stuff in the playoffs, all the things that he's averaged at his position, at his age, against the people he's played with. I don't even think he needs six rings to be called the GOAT. I think at 4 he's already got that title. If it's 5, it's kind of obvious, but I think at 4 he's got it already.
So let's discuss that, Miles, because we know Anthony Davis is going to stay with the Lakers. All right, he might be a free agent now, but he's going to stay with the Lakers.
Two P, by the way.
Duo. You've got this duo. So you're calling a repeat. That would give him 5. How many championships do you think this Lakers team can bring to the city of LA?
I think definitely for sure 2P. I don't know about a 3P. If a 3P happened, come on now. It's kind of obvious LeBron's the GOAT. Come on now. Let's stop pretending. If he gets 6, that would be the Mount Rushmore. Like that would be the cherry on top. But I think they could definitely get 5 for LeBron. Definitely 2P. If he gets a 3P, I mean the other teams in the NBA are getting really too good. I mean you got Kyrie and KD on the Nets. I mean there's so many more competition next season. But I definitely think they can get a 2P in for sure.
At 15 years old, Miles, you're real talented. You're very intelligent. You're a great actor. You're a great artist. And you have a new album out. Congratulations.
Oh,
yeah. What message are you trying to convey with We the Future?
My message with We the Future, I mean, it's kind of something I've always wanted to make music, and We the Future is always something I've had planned to make for such a long time. The message that I kind of wanted to get out with this album is, with all this going on in the world and so much is happening, the people that it's going to be left up for to carry on what's going on is the youth. And I know that's my generation. That's the generation even after me. So, I mean, the cover that we took is kind of like a remake of the signing of the Constitution and how they kind of display We the People. And I wanted to remake that with We the Future. So that's kind of me getting out. That's kind of me getting out to the youth and saying that whatever happens, we're going to be left up to us to carry on and know what we're doing and kind of have a good head on our shoulders.
2020 has been a very difficult year, and there's been so much tragedy and difficulty. And one of the things that happened is we lost Chadwick Boseman. I know that's someone who you've worked with and it's inspired you. How has Chadwick Boseman inspired you?
Just seeing his work ethic is like probably one of the biggest things. Seeing how he inspired me when I first met him compared to, every single other time I've seen him. It's just like always following an update of something new that he's done. Every single time I see him, whether it was Black Panther, 42, Get On Down with, the James Brown film. I've always just been one of the biggest fans of his work ethic, and me not even knowing what he was going through, it just displays on how effortlessly he's done all of his stuff. So just everything that he's done, every time you see me, he's the nicest person to me, to my family. And I can't believe that there's so much stuff that's going on that's kind of the cherry on top with all that is going on with this year. So, I mean, his work ethic is probably one of the most inspiring things out of any actor, out of any entertainer that I've ever met and ever, had a chance to speak to.
While we're losing giants, we're losing heroes and superheroes like Chadwick Boseman and Kobe Bryant in particular. How gratifying in some way will it be for you in the city of Los Angeles to not only have the Lakers be champions, but the Dodgers as well in the same year that we lost both of those gentlemen?
That would be the craziest thing. I mean, for me, I already thought the Lakers winning was enough, but shoot, the Dodgers winning right after, that's just another momentum. If we can even get 2 years in a row, that's just LA on top of the world at that point. I mean, I don't know what else you can say. That's kind of like an LA citizen's dream to have both of their favorite teams winning at the same time. Shout out to the Dodgers, shout out to the Lakers, shout out LeBron. I mean, he's obviously one of the reasons they're right there. But I mean, for me, I know my family, they're huge Laker fans, huge Dodger fans. My dad is also a huge Dodger fan. I mean, my grandpa, every single part of my family is huge Laker and Dodger fans. So it can't get any better. It can't get any better for like all of LA, to be honest. I know it's for me, all of California. I know California's going to be happy, even though there's more teams within California, but they're still going to be happy that someone in there is going to be definitely winning for this year.
You can listen to more of us and Miles Brown on the Jalen and Jacoby podcast. We'll have exclusive content there. Stay tuned. There's more Jalen Jacoby coming right up.